What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of K-Cards Baseball. Thanks for joining me tonight on this wonderful Wednesday evening, wherever you might be. That must mean it is, in fact, Vintage Card Wednesday. Really excited about this video tonight. I thought I would do something a little bit different. Rather than showing you guys cards that I have coming up for auction pretty soon, I thought we would take a look at the top 10 Hall of Fame vintage rookie cards from the 1950s and 1960s that you can still buy for under $150. The reason why I was inspired to make this video tonight is I thought it would be, number one, something a little bit different, and number two, I do hear people all the time tell me that they can't find vintage Hall of Fame rookie cards at an affordable price. Now, everybody's idea of affordable is obviously a little bit different. What might be affordable to me might be different than what might be affordable to you. So I wanted to kind of take a little bit of a range. So I wanted to look at rookie cards from the 1950s and 1960s that you can still get for under $150. I use that $150 mark as a cutoff line for cards that we're going to look at tonight. I also wanted to look at cards that were in pretty decent condition, which means to me no creases, relatively good corners, decent color, no gum stains or wax stains on the cards, and no other major scratches or surface flaws. So that is what we're going to look at. Quite often when I'm looking at rookie cards to buy, I also will be looking more at the raw version rather than the PSA or the SGC graded version. Those cards, rookie cards, you can get generally at a better price, and if you do a little bit of a search on them, you can get an idea about what the card is and have a pretty good idea about what kind of PSA grade it might potentially get. Raw cards are going to be generally more affordable than a PSA graded card. Before we get into the list, I do want to let you know I didn't put these in any sort of a ranked order. I went by year. So the oldest cards first up to the newest Hall of Famers. First up on my list is Luis Aparicio. He is currently the oldest living Hall of Famer. He played from 1956 to 1973. He was a 13-time All-Star, a 9-time Gold Glover, Rookie of the Year, and a 1966 World Series champion. He wasn't a guy that was really going to knock your socks off with stats. It wasn't a big home run hitter, but his wins against replacement is an astronomical 55.9. I am going to be looking at primarily active auctions or current active auctions. This card I thought was pretty darn nice. It says here it is in very good to excellent condition. It is at a price of $84. It is ungraded, of course, but I thought this card was pretty darn nice. The back is in really decent shape, actually fairly well centered on the back. So at $84, this one might very well get graded maybe a 4 or 5. If it comes back a 5, you'll be looking at probably around $150. So this is a really decent card to buy. And in my opinion, the 1956 cards are one of my favorite years for Topps. I think that the 1956 cards are really cool. If you look at other cards of his, here's a graded PSA 3, very good, for $199. Hasn't received any bids yet, ends in 21 hours. I don't know that that one will get any bids. I think that that card that we looked at first for $84, this one right here is in better condition than that 3. So if they're asking $199, I think that this card is better. Here's an SGC 5.5 for $250. That is probably fairly close to what our $84 card is. I would think that this is going to come back in a 4 or a 5. So this might very well end up being a $150 to $200 card if you buy this card and send it off and get it graded. So that is Luis Aparicio. Next up is Bill Mazeroski. He played from 1956 to 1972. Was a 10-time All-Star, 8-time Gold Glove winner, and a 2-time World Series champion. His rookie card, 1957 Topps, is right here. This card for $79, listed in very good to excellent condition. This card is going to be off-center, left or right, which a lot of the Mazeroski rookie cards seem to be just from looking at them recently. The corners on this card are a little bit dinged up, but overall not too bad. There aren't any wrinkles on the card. The back is in pretty decent shape. Again, corner issues, but there are no wax stains on the card. It is in pretty good condition. For $79, this might very well come back as probably a 4, I would say. And if you get it back in a 4, again, you might be looking at about a $125 card. If we go back to the, I think there's a couple graded one. Here's a 6 for $175. Here's a 4.5 for $100. That is probably pretty close to what that card is. And you can see here's another one of his rookie cards right here. This one might actually be in better shape. Again, the centering is going to be off. This card is listed at $100. It does seem to have a little bit of a better corners than that first card that we looked at. This one might very well be, let's say, a 5 because the corners are a little bit better, even though the centering is off both top to bottom and left to right. So that is the Bill Mazeroski card. Let's move on to number 3 on the list. The next card on my list, number 3, is Orlando Cepeda. As we've often talked about, when you're displaying cards or selling cards on eBay, don't put them in the holders. This really kind of screws it up a little bit because it is more difficult to tell what kind of condition that this card is in because it is in the holder. But nonetheless, it is at $49.99. Orlando Cepeda played from 1958 to 1974. He was the 1967 NL MVP. He was a Rookie of the Year, an 11-time All-Star, and a 1967 World Series champion. Really cool card of Orlando Cepeda. This 1958 rookie card is quite a nice example for $50. Even though it is going to be off-center, left to right, and also top to bottom. Not too bad top to bottom. I call that 80-20 top to bottom. Probably 90-10 on the left to right. I would probably grade this card in 4. The back of the card is in really nice shape as well. Again, it is in a holder, so it is hard to tell the condition of the card in the holder. If you look at other cards that are graded around the same as what this card would be, here is a PSA 5 for $195. I don't know if that card that I showed you earlier would be a 5 or not, but it would be a solid 4. So I would say that first card that I showed you in that 4 to 5, if it comes back a 4, you're looking at $125. And if you're looking at a 5, you're looking at about $160. So that is Orlando Cepeda. Next on my list is Jim Kaat. He played from 1959 to 1983, a whopping 24 years. Pretty crazy. And only a 3-time All-Star, 16-time Gold Glove winner, however. Won more Gold Gloves than any pitcher in the history of baseball. And a 1982 World Series champ. He primarily is in the Hall of Fame for longevity more than anything else, and those 16 Gold Glove awards, even though he did have 287 wins in his career. Very affordable rookie card, and kind of a cool rookie. This is a 1960 rookie star card for $50.96. It is listed in very good to excellent condition with no creases. The back of this card is in really nice shape, even though the centering on the back is really messed up. There isn't any left to right at all, and top to bottom. I would put this card probably in that 4 to 5 range. If we look at other cards that are going to be in that area, 4 to 5, Here's a 5.5 for $70. Here is a 4 for $50. So that is probably pretty similar to that card that we looked at earlier for $50. I would probably just go ahead and buy it in the 4 for $50. That is really a good price, already graded, rather than running the risk of buying a raw card and sending it off and getting it in less than that graded value. So if you want a really good PSA 4 for an affordable price of a Hall of Famer, here is Jim Kaat. Might very well be your guy. Let's move on to number 5. Number 5 on the list, and one of the more expensive ones I've got listed, is the 1960 Willie McCovey card. Willie played from 1959 to 1980, 21 years, was a 6-time All-Star, an MVP, a Rookie of the Year, an All-Star MVP, and a Player of the Year. Quite often he played in the shadow of the other Willie, Willie Mays, for the San Francisco Giants, but Willie McCovey was a great player in his own right. Here is a 1960 rookie card, raw, for $80. Really nice shape on this card. The centering of it is pretty nice, even though it is a little bit off, probably 70-30 left to right and top to bottom. The back is in really good condition. I would probably put this card in, let's say, a PSA 5, maybe a 6. If we look at other 6s that are similar to that are graded, it is difficult to find one. Here's a 4.5 for $135, a 4 for $110. Here is a 5 for $179, and a 3 for $125. So as you can see, you can still get a really nice Willie McCovey rookie card for under $100 in raw form, and go ahead and send it off to get it graded and resell it and make some money if you care to do it. But I would probably keep it in my PC. Moving on to number 6 on the list. Number 6 on the list, I have Juan Marichal, a teammate of Willie Covey for many years. He played from 1960 to 1975, was a 10-time All-Star, won the ERA title, and was an All-Star MVP. One of my very favorite players. I'm never going to forget his pitching motion with the high leg kick. Was always pretty cool to watch. This is his 1961 Topps card, number 417. This card is listed in excellent condition at $60, and it is in pretty decent condition. But it does seem to be some fraying over on the left-hand edge of this card. I don't know if it is miscut that way. The centering on it is 70-30, left to right. Top to bottom is actually pretty decent. Almost 50-50, I'd say 60-40. No creases on the card. The back of the card is actually really nice. Really nice example of a nice Juan Marichal card. I would probably put this in a 5 condition. Similar cards to that. Here is a PSA 5 for $61. Our card was listed at $70. It might be a little bit better than this 5. I would say the centering of our card that we looked at earlier is better than that. Here's an SGC 5.5 for $140. That probably is a more realistic price for a card that is 5 or better. A good for $110, probably not. A very good 3 for $108. Here's a 5 for $150. So that probably gives you a good example. And a 4.5 for $135. That is probably more in the range of what the card that we looked at earlier is like. So sending that card off for $70 and getting it back in a 5 would turn out to be a pretty good deal. Let's move on to number 7. Number 7 on my list, I have Ron Santo, longtime Cub. Played from 1960 to 1974. 9-time All-Star and a 5-time Gold Glove winner. This card I have pulled up is almost looks like a reprint, to be quite honest with you. It is listed at $65. I mean, look at this thing. It is a beautiful card. The corners are incredibly sharp on this card. Like I said, it almost looks like a reprint. Beautiful card. Wow. It is better than any of the ones that are graded. Even the back is in really nice shape. A little bit of fraying on the right hand edge, but wow, this card is really nice for $65. I don't know that I can find it. I mean, I would put this thing in minimum 7 condition, I would say. I didn't see any other 7s at all graded. Here's an excellent near mint 6 for 50 or for 46. This card is very affordable, I'm telling you. I mean, here's a very good to excellent 4 for $70. Here's a 7 for $100. So this is probably the closest one that we can find to that card that I pulled up earlier. This card in a 7 is listed at $100, and I think that card that we looked at earlier is at least a 7. Ron Santo is a very affordable Hall of Famer. Let's move on to number 8, who is also going to be a Chicago Cub. Next up on the list, I have the 1961 Billy Williams card, another great player for a long time. He played from 1959 to 1976, was a Rookie of the Year, won a batting title, a 6-time All-Star, and a Major League Player of the Year. Really cool card here. This card is listed at $40, and I would probably call this card a 5. It is going to be off-center, left or right. Probably 80-20. Top to bottom is actually pretty decent. There is some dings on the corners. This bottom left-hand corner is dinged up. A little bit of a ding in the upper left, but the right side of the card is in pretty decent shape. The back of the card, as you can see, is in pretty decent shape as well, other than a ding in the bottom left-hand corner. So this is a great rookie card for under $50. Billy Williams is actually one of those slightly underrated Hall of Famers, and you can get him at a very affordable price. I would probably send this card to get graded. Probably would come back a 5, and the 5s are pretty close to the same price as that card. Here's probably more likely what that card would be. So you buy that card at $35, $40, and here's a 4 for $55. I would probably put that card that we looked at earlier in a 5 condition. Here's a 4 for $70. So that is Billy Williams. Moving on to number 9 on our list. Next up on our list is the 1962 Gaylord Perry card. Gaylord Perry was a 5-time All-Star. He played from 1962 to 1983. Known for his knuckleball. He was one of the best knuckleball pitchers to ever play the game. 5-time All-Star and a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, and had 314 wins in his career. 1962 was a tough year because it was a colored border year with that wood grain color. So you will see lots of whiting on the edges of the card. You can see examples of that on the bottom and also on the left-hand side. This card is in a sleeve, so it is difficult to tell the actual condition of the card. It does have a ding here in the bottom left-hand corner, small ding in the upper left, a slight rounding in the bottom right, but overall not a bad card at all. You can see a ding up here in the upper left on the back of the card. It is in the sleeve, and it is actually crooked in the sleeve, so the guy didn't even bother to straighten out the card before taking out pictures. But nonetheless, it is a nice example for $60. I would probably put this card in its current condition. I would probably say a 5 to a 6. Probably not a 6, but probably more or less a 5. Other 5s that are currently for sale, here is a 4 for that same price as that card. Here's a 6 for $140. So if that card comes back in a 6, it is sellable at 140. This card looks to be in kind of the same condition as the card that we looked at. It does have some whiting on the bottom of the edge and quite a bit of whiting over here on the left-hand side of the card. So that is the Gaylord Perry card. Moving on to our last card that we will be talking about. Our last card that we're going to look at is the 1963 Tony Oliva rookie card with Ed Kranepool on the card as well. Tony Oliva played from 1962 to 1976, was an 8-time All-Star, a Rookie of the Year, 3-time batting title, and a Gold Glove winner. An excellent player, one of my very favorite players of all time, so maybe I'm a little bit biased putting him on the list, but to be honest, I think he actually deserves to be on this list. His rookie card here, I would probably put this card in a 4, maybe a 5. It does have a ding in the upper left-hand corner. The other corners are in pretty decent shape, even though they do show some slight wear. $71 for this card. The back of the card is in really decent shape. Looking at this card in a graded form, this is a 3 for $80, which is the same price as the card that we looked at. Actually, a little bit more. Here's our card for $71. Here's a 4 for $120. It is a difficult card to grade because of the color on the top of the border. Here's a 5, an SGC 5, for $165. So I think that is probably pretty accurate. So buying that card that we looked at the beginning for $72 and possibly getting that back in a 5 for $165. Even the 4s are going for a little bit better than $100. So that is a good deal for that card. So I would invest in this card. Me personally, I've got 2 or 3 of this 63 Tony Oliva card because he is one of my favorites and a guy that I collect for my PC. So anyways, guys, that is my top 10 list of affordable Hall of Fame rookie cards from the 1950s and 60s that you can get for under $150. And as you saw from most of the examples that we talked about tonight, most of these are going to be under $100. So anyways, guys, that is all I got for you guys tonight. If you like this video or any one of the videos that I make, please do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe. It helps us out quite a bit, and I would greatly appreciate it. Be safe out there, and happy collecting.